My name's Jordan Young. I'm a track and field thrower from Canada. For over a decade, I've been working to understand every aspect of throwing. I'm an athlete, which means the only way to be great is through raw hard work and determination. This is my story. I'm going to be taking on one of athletics' biggest challenges, the Olympic Games. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. Over the past week, I've had some of my best technical practices ever. So in today's video, I want to explain to you some of the feelings that I'm trying to get in the throw, and then I want to break down some of the positions that I'm working on. So this is some stand throw footage from last Monday, November 4th, and I started the week with one objective, and that was to try to figure out how to rotate and extend my leg in the middle so that I could time up my hips on the finish and get a nice powerful throw. And over the course of last week, I learned a few good lessons. I'm trying to get my block foot pointed to a nice direction, just trying to wind back enough that I can really feel the drive of my hips, keeping everything nice and rotational and long. Trying to feel the weight transfer into my block leg and my hips rotating into that block. But to explain to you guys everything that I learned last week, I want to actually fast forward to this Monday, November 11th, and this is future me explaining everything that I learned last week. All right, there's a couple things that I want to focus on feeling today. The first thing is making sure that I'm getting a good block foot pointed to a good direction so that I can square my hips up to the finish. I then want to really make sure that I'm feeling the timing of turning and extending my hips into the finish at the same time that the disc is coming through on the finish. And I also want to think about keeping the discus nice and tall, not letting it get behind and scooping it up on the finish. I want to feel my hips going wide and circling around into my block. So the hips rotating on this rotational path is an important lesson that will come back later in full throws. So take note of that. All right, now make sure I'm really getting the extension on that leg, driving everything up and into the finish. Hips going wide on a nice wide circle, discus with my arm and nice and tall, leg extending on the finish. And I also want to think about keeping a long off arm that wraps around, stays nice and tall to get a good block and finish with my throwing side. So it'll be The next thing that I want to do is cover full throws and explain to you guys some positions that I'm trying to hit. But first I want to quickly say, if you're enjoying this video or find yourself learning something, if you can, smash that like button so we can get it out to as many throwers as possible. And subscribe for more videos like this. I just started reversing this week, so I want to start to cover that in my next episode. So to understand positions that I'm trying to hit in the full throw, I want to take a look at the technique of two of the top discus throwers in the world right now. The first position that I want to talk about is the rotation in the back of the circle and making sure that you get your sweep leg and hip all the way around your rotational axis so that it's on the other side of the line. In the last episode, I explained that by reaching long, it helps me shift my center of mass over top of my pivot leg so that I can properly execute this movement. And from here, I want you to pay attention to his body position and notice that his torso is nice and vertical coming out of the back. And out of the back, his center of mass travels straight across the ring. And you can see that on the finish, he's nice and centered in the same position that he came out of the back. So in order to keep your torso and your arms in a good position so that they can travel straight across the ring, there's a ton of different mechanics going on with the legs. And I want to start to talk about some of those positions. So the first thing that's happening after the wind is he's opening up the left foot and reaching long over that side with the off arm. And notice once the foot's nice and open, he's starting to pick up the right foot. And once the right foot's up, you can see that the knee's dropping down to the middle of the circle. And this is an important mechanic that will help you get the direction later on in the throw. So notice that he's reaching long and the knees dropping down to the middle of the circle. The next thing he's doing is straightening out his sweep leg, and that helps him rotate wide around his pivot leg. And from this position, now that he's nice and loaded up over his bent leg in the middle, from that knee dropping down, he can push off of the ground straight, and at the same time, he's pulling his sweep leg down to the middle underneath of him. And once he lands in the middle, he's going to rotate around that middle leg, and at the same time, get the other leg down to the ground to establish a nice block. And once the block leg's on the ground, that stops the rotation on that side, and he's continuing the rotation with only his throwing side. And the last mechanic that I want you to pay attention to is that the right leg is rotating around the left leg. And then once the left leg gets down on the ground again for a block, the right leg is rotating around the left leg again. And this was one of the most helpful feelings that I had in my throw last week. So I want to cut to me describing that feeling. Get over the right, get the hips all the way around. And then get that hip all the way around again. So I'm sending the hip wide out of the back, sending the hip wide on the finish. So I'm sending the hip wide out of the back, sending the hip wide on the finish. So I'm sending the hip wide out of the back, sending the hip wide on the finish. So if we take a look at Daniel Stahl's throw, you can see that he's doing all of the same mechanics, and some of the positions might look a little bit different, but the overall physics that he's achieving in the throw is the same. And it's crazy to watch it back in full speed and see all of these movements done in under a second. I want to now take a look at my favorite throw from last week. And it's my favorite throw because I stayed nice and balanced throughout the whole throw, and my center of mass was traveling straight across the ring. But the biggest thing that I liked was that my hips stayed nice and rotational in the whole throw, and that really helped me stay balanced. And the big cue that I felt in this throw, I explained earlier, but there's also a bunch of other positions that I'm thinking about at the same time. So I'm trying to drop that knee down and reach long with my off arm. I'm trying to kick my sweep leg nice and wide, and then I want to get a good block and good rotation with my foot in the middle, all while trying to feel my hips staying on that nice wide path. So over the course of the week, I've just been getting lots of reps and trying to work on these things every day. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.